You know, sometimes I think I live in the dumbest country on earth. I don't know. I haven't lived in any other countries, but I've seen some stuff this year which just boggles the mind. And it makes me embarrassed to be an American, and it makes me embarrassed not to be able to do anything about it. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the complete and utter degradation of the truth in this country, how no one wants to hear it, no one wants to do anything about it, and all they do is swallow the most insane things just because, I don't know, are they lazy, are they stupid, or do they just don't care? I don't know. I think it's time for all us adults, you know who you are if you are one, to say, wait a second, we are tired of all this. Now, what are we tired of? How about the endless lies being told by certain public figures and politicians? Like this idea of the steal. Come on, we're all adults. We've been around. Do you really think that somehow the election was stolen from Donald Trump? My God. And yet, this whole fiction that he brought up to somehow stay in power or whatever, so many Republican senators and congressmen bought into it. And all these state houses bought into it by passing a bunch of laws that would restrict voting rights in the name of preventing fraud. Now, we are at a low mark of credibility in this country. You can't hardly believe anyone yet. We're supposed to function as a country when there's no one we can believe. Now, granted, politicians have always had a reputation for being a little slippery with the truth. Nothing new there. But when something is so obviously false, and then we have so many people jumping on board to defend it, or to at least try to accommodate it, and not one of them has the guts to say, well, you know, really that wasn't true. And when are the other adults in this country going to say, you know, that wasn't true, and yet we're told about it all the time and people are acting upon it? Isn't it time we stood up and said, hey, not here, not in our country, because we're becoming a laughingstock. And what happens when you're a laughingstock, the very thing we depend on as a government and a society has been completely eroded. In other words, you have to be able to trust the institutions that make policy and the people who represent us, and yet so many of them are completely in service to an agenda or to individuals or to power that we're not completely aware of or privy to, and it's time that some of this got rooted out. Who are they serving when they tell these lies or support things they know aren't true? They're undermining their own credibility, but I don't think that ever mattered to them, because all they want to do is tell people what they want to hear and then pass legislation or programs which serve their agenda, which is not always apparent, because I think they serve a lot of secretive masters or people with too much influence, too much money, and in the meantime, our country is burning. Look around. Between all the poor people, all the sick people, all the problems with our country, and instead of trying to serve the people, they're trying to make sure that some of them can't even exercise their right to vote. And that's a disgrace. Now, how stupid and how long are we going to stay this stupid before we say enough is enough? I mean, when you have someone, I don't want to name names, but you know who they are. They just are completely not acting in our interest. And who they're serving? Sometimes hard to tell, but they seem pretty determined to get in the way of any progress or to help people or to do the things that we can't do for ourselves, which is the whole point of having a central government. In other words, to look out for people, to make sure that our national health, our national wealth, and our national priorities are attended to by people who care about the results and care about other people and want to see Americans do well. I don't know if very many of them that we've seen in action lately can pass that test. And I, for one, think maybe it's time that they found some other way to make a living. When are people going to say, well, maybe it was good for me, but was it really? Because, how many rich people are there in this country that can be served by such a narrow viewpoint? Because most people, they're not that well off. We certainly outnumber the billionaires and the multi-billionaires. Now, isn't it time that instead of serving them, we serve the people who really need to be served, the ones who need protection? And instead of using fear to divide us, how about we use common purpose to unite us? I'm calling out all you adults now. It's time to stop the foolishness. It's time to start caring about the results from Washington and whether or not they make sense or if they do any good for your average American. I don't know. How stupid and how long can we be stupid before this just comes back to bite us? And it is already starting to bite us. We're losing credibility with each other. No one believes in institutions. At some point, the whole thing collapses because it's based on faith, goodwill, and the belief that we can do something about our problems. Without that, we're lost. And somehow I wonder if we aren't lost already. Please stand up. If you're an adult, if you see something wrong, say, hey, that's wrong. I know it's wrong, and I'm not going to let it become the truth when we know it's false. Okay, that's enough for me today. I'm going to drink a gallon of liquor and just try to sleep it off because I can't take what's going on in this country much longer. See you later.